So far, we've covered all the various ways to process audio using offline and real-time processing methods. However, Nuendo doesn't stop there. It also provides you with the ability to apply effects to your MIDI tracks using real-time MIDI effect plugins. This opens up an entire world of new ways to create interesting and dynamic musical passages and gestures with your MIDI equipment or virtual instrument plugins. In this tutorial, we'll cover the basics behind the MIDI effect plugins and ways to tap into their creative power. MIDI effects are included in the Nuendo installation. They are accessed the same way you would access insert and send effects, either from the channel inspector, from the VST channel mixer, or from the VST channel settings. Just as with normal insert or send effects, you have a power on/off button and a bypass button to bypass the effect at any time. Alright, let's take a deeper look at exactly how MIDI plugins work. MIDI effect plugins can be used in two ways. First, you can use them to process any MIDI sequences you have already recorded. Inserting a MIDI effect plugin will alter any effects you already have playing back. Second, you can use MIDI effect plugins to alter and change real-time incoming MIDI data that you are sending from your MIDI controllers. This allows you to use the MIDI plugins to process what you're actually playing from your MIDI controller devices. This is an amazing way to add expression and dynamics to what you play into Nuendo. By using MIDI effects on the send slots, you can use a plugin to process the MIDI data and leave the original data intact as well. Or you can designate a new destination for the send effect to process another device instead. A perfect example of using MIDI effects is the Apache 5 plugin. This is a plugin that creates a real-time MIDI arpeggiator. It instantly arpeggiates any notes that you trigger from your keyboard controller or other MIDI controller device, and it can arpeggiate notes that are already recorded. Here we have a MIDI track sequencing a virtual instrument plugin. Now I'll turn on the Apache 5. I'll choose the random mode and set the arpeggiations range to 24 semitones, or interpret it as a 2-octave range. Now listen to what happens to the chord progression. Apache 5 took those 5 notes from each chord and created an arpeggiation from it in real time. Since this is a plugin, it doesn't alter the actual MIDI notes within the sequence. It simply processes the MIDI data in real time and generates the new effects. If we want, we can change the quantize amount and the play mode for something a little different. Since this is a MIDI effect, I can use the same plugin to alter incoming notes that I trigger. So here I'll activate the monitor on function for the MIDI track, and I'll trigger some notes with my keyboard. It instantly arpeggiates whatever I play in real time. So you can see how powerful just this one plugin can be. Normally, you would have to have some dedicated hardware sequencer or arpeggiator functions built into whatever instrument you are playing to get these type of effects. Another example of how MIDI effects can be very useful is the Step Designer. This plugin actually generates notes for you in a step pattern sequencer style. You have a grid that allows you to draw in notes that are then generated and trigger whatever device is set on the output of the MIDI track. Here I have a pattern already generating. I'll make a few changes and you can see how it instantly generates the new notes. You can even draw in control data in the lower window so you can alter things like filter amounts, velocity, gates, and more. This is not only a great sequencing tool for synths, but it also works well for sequencing drum grooves and patterns with any drum or sampler module. Okay, let's take a look at a few little tricks that will take MIDI effects even further. Since MIDI effects are used as insert plugins, and you have up to 4 insert slots per MIDI channel, then this means that you can actually combine and chain plugins to experiment and create unique ways of manipulating your MIDI data. A perfect example is using the step designer to sequence chords using the quarter plugin. First, we insert the step designer, and I'll call up a preset I already have saved. We'll go ahead and play that first. Okay, now we'll insert the quarter plugin after the step designer. The quarter plugin allows you to create chord memories for any given note on a keyboard. My sequence in the step designer is using a C3 and a D3 progression. So I'll program a different chord for each of those keys. Now when I hit play, the step designer will trigger those 2 notes. And now each of those notes will generate its own chord with the quarter plugin. So with just the quarter plugin alone, I've altered what was originally a very simple synth line into something a little more melodically interesting. This is just one of the many ways you can experiment with chaining together plugins to create unique effects. No other DAW application gives you this type of creative power. Now let's say you really like what's going on and you want to print this permanently to a MIDI sequence event so that you can have better control to arrange this into your song. The Merge MIDI in Loop function is created just for this. It works similar to the audio export function we covered earlier. First, I'll set my left and right locator ranges to cover the area I want to print. Next, we go to the MIDI menu and choose the Merge MIDI in Loop option. In here, we have several options to choose from. For now, we only want to choose the Include Inserts option since we are only using an insert. Once I hit OK, Nuendo will process the MIDI track with the effects being used and create a new MIDI track for it. Now I have all those MIDI effects rendered as a new sequence, making it easy for me to add this into my arrangement and place it specifically where I want it to go. As you can see, Nuendo offers you a unique way to extend your creativity when it comes time to write new material or simply spice up something you already have. With the variety of MIDI plugins available, you're sure to find it a refreshing change to the world of MIDI.